you guys both go to prison.
Uh-huh.
How many years do each of you end up serving?
6 years, 8 months, almost 7 years.
Both of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you guys are going into prison as rapists.
Exactly.
And you guys are, well, I mean, you're, Yusef, you're kind of big, but, Raymond, you're relatively small at this point. You know.
I was about this skinny right here though.
Okay. you're just tall and skinny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys go into the prison system as rapists, which is not respected by other inmates.
At all.
Especially something as high profile as this.
Yeah.
So, for example, I imagine there's a high level of danger from the Aryans and stuff like that once you're in there.
Danger from everything, from everybody, even your own kind.
Yeah.
Your own kind is looking at you like you're not one of us.
That's the worst. People who are there for robbery, that's a badge of honor. I robbed somebody. You there for rape? That's the worst crime you can go to prison for. The only crime that trumps rape is child molestation.
That's right.
And every prison that we went to, every poll that was taken, people were like, we will take care of them for the society.
Yeah.
We will get rid of them for you.
Yeah.
We're happy to do it.
Yeah.
Best place for a criminal to go is to be in the prison industrial complex so that other more heinous crimes, when those folks come in, those inmates get them,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you guys end up getting released years later. Okay. Now, at what point one of you meets Matias Reyes?
Oh, so that's Corey Wise.
Corey Wise meets.
Okay. Okay. So one of the Central Park Five meets Matias Reyes.
Yeah.
Now, Matias Reyes was someone that was raping women in New York. The East Side Rapist, I guess.
Yeah,
what
the East Side Rapist.
Ended up being called?
Yeah.
Okay. So what exactly happens between Corey and Matias Reyes?
Well, Corey, what happens is that they wound up meeting, they was both on Rikers Island at the same time back in 1989. And what people don't know is that they had a fight over the TV, right? So you fast forward 13 years later, Corey's in Auburn Correctional Facility, and he's walking the yard, what we call spinning the yard in prison. And Reyes sees him, and Reyes says, he recognizes him, and he goes, wait a minute, that's Corey? He's still locked up all these years? And at this time, he sees Corey, he has bad feet, he just looks like he's having a hard time. And so he reaches out and he goes over and he has a conversation with Corey. But he never tells Corey that he's the one who committed the crime. He just had a genuine conversation with him back from 1989, and he brings up the fight that they have. And Corey tells him, look, man, don't even worry about that. That was 13 years ago. Like, it ain't free none of us. We both in jail.
Yeah.
But he goes on to tell Corey how he has found Jesus Christ, how he's living a different life now. And Corey, comforts him in that. And he goes back to his cell that night and he starts to really think. And he says, damn. He goes and he talks to some of his boys. And he says, there's a dude who's in here for a crime that I commit. And I feel bad about it. And they encourage him to go forward. Now because he's going to church every Sunday, he goes down there and he speaks to the chaplain. And he seeks guidance from the chaplain. And the chaplain tells him the same thing. You need to say something about it if you committed this crime and he's in here because of you.
Yeah.
And the misconception that people think is that this guy just told his story and that was it.
Yeah.
No, he had to literally go through the ranks of telling everybody over and over and over again that he committed this crime. And it went all the way till it got to the Attorney General's office, and they called the DA's office. They called Robert Morgenthau, and they said, hey, you got somebody here saying he committed this crime from 13 years ago. And that's how the investigation started.
Yeah.
Okay, and Matias Reyes, was he doing life in prison, or did he have some long sentence?
He was he's serving 33 1/3 to life.
Yeah.
And so during this investigation, it's about an 8-month investigation where the police is investigating the whole thing. And, the funny thing is, like, they don't even feel he's credible. He has to prove to them that he did this crime, right? And so he goes in there and he gives them about 4 cases that's unsolved. And he says, go back and look at those. And they find him and they find out that he's the one that did it. And so, his MO was that he was a loner. His MO was also that he bound and gagged all his victims like this.
Yeah.
And all their injuries were the eyes and the head, the same way that they found the jogger, right? And so when they look back and the DA office writes their report, it's about a 52-page report by Nancy Ryan. And now that report talks about how we're innocent. 52 pages long, you know, and this guy has to prove that he committed this crime over and over again. And then they check the DNA evidence and it matches.
Yeah.
Now, by the time that he admits this, you guys are already out of jail, what, 6 years or so? 6, 7 years?
Except for me, I was still in prison.
Yeah,
Corey was still in prison and I was still in prison.
Yeah, this was one of those situations where we had, I think we had already, those of us who were out, we had done all of our parole time.
Yeah.
And we were basically getting ready to embark on life with the indelible scar of having to tell and explain to people, look, I got convicted of this crime that I didn't commit, you know, but I can't prove it. And it wasn't until he came forward and said that he did it and they matched his DNA evidence, his DNA with the evidence that they had, that they knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this guy did it.
Yeah.
When you found out that Matias admitted to this and now there's an investigation clearing your names, how did you guys feel about it?
Well, for me, I was in prison, right? I was serving 3.5 to 7 years on the drug charge.
Okay, and hold on, I just want to make a point here.
Okay.
The sentencing that you got for your drug charge was higher than it should be because of your previous conviction.
That's correct. I was a predicate felon now.
Right.
Right. So it fell right under, one more and I'm a persistent. So it fell right under that. And so I was in prison at the time, and I was so institutionalized by this time that I felt they just gonna make this dude the sixth man and they gonna sweep it under the rug and that's it.
Yeah, that's what they tried to do.
And that's what they tried to do. They
tried to say this was the guy who they've been looking for all along.
Yeah.
Now see, the part of the story that didn't match our story, which was perfect, was his retelling of the crime and how he did this particular crime.
Yeah.
How he saw her, he could hear that she was playing music in her ears and she didn't even know he was following her, you know? And then when she made that turn on 102nd Street Traverse, he said he hit her in the head with a tree branch. Now, I always tell people that if we look at TV shows and we see shows like CSI, NCIS, all of these shows, all the alphabet soup of shows that people watch, we know that forensics is an exact science. They can come into a place and they could test blood and say, well, this blood is drier than that blood, so therefore this blood is where something happened first. And true to form, when they look back at their recreation of the crime scene, they knew that she had gotten hit in the head. Something happened at this particular point because they found blood there.
Yeah.
And then they saw the drag, this drag line in the grass. And they knew that somebody had dragged her from the road to that area of the woods. And then when they found her, they couldn't find her keys. And I think her shoes and stuff like that were in opposite directions. This guy had beat her, he raped her, beat her in the head with a brick. And then with a rock, and then tried to ask her where did she live because he wanted to go to her house so that he could rob her house. And of course, by this time, she's out of it. He throws her keys in one direction, shoes in another direction, and he gets out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. So he gives this testimony over and over again until the point where it starts to stick.
Yeah.
There's an investigation into all this. And at the end of the investigation, you guys are all proven innocent.
That's correct.
Yes.
How did that day feel?
Oh, for me, that was the happiest day of my life. But the crazy part about it is that it was so short-lived because the innocence of us got little to no attention. My mother, I remember she had testified at City Hall and she was talking about the case and she said, when they were found to be innocent, that tsunami of media reports that Raymond talked about, that over 400 articles that were being written about us when they thought we were guilty, she said that when we were found to be innocent, it was a whisper that she had wondered if the rats in New York City had even heard.
Yeah.
Even to this day, sometimes we go around and we speak, and folks are like, when you guys come home? We thought y'all was still in jail. I mean, it's like, or there's a complete disconnect, and folks say, man, oh, that's a new rap group, the Central Park 5, CP5. Yeah. The whole history of what happened to us has been almost erased. Yeah. You know.
So, did you guys ever get a chance to talk to Matias Reyes yourself?
No.
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 Any interest in doing that at all, or no?
No, no interest at all. I mean, this guy, you know, he was known as the East Side Slasher, the East Side Rapist. He committed about 7 to 8 rapes that they know about. One was a murder of a pregnant woman. I mean, there's nothing to talk about with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a horrific individual. Was he given more time?
No.
Was he given more time?
No, so that's the part that's even the worst part about. That's the tragedy of this story. Huh. The tragedy of the Central Park jogger case is that the real perpetrator, although he came forward and told the truth, because of statute of limitations, like in New York City is 7 years. If you come after 7 years and tell the truth, or you get found out, you know, because of your MO.
Unless it's murder.
Yeah, unless it's murder.
Right. Well, rape is 7 years.
Oh, so rape has a statute of limitations. Since he's passed the statute of limitations, he was able to admit it without getting any more time. But he was also, I guess, doing life in prison. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Right.
So you guys get exonerated of these charges.
Mm-hmm.
I know that years later, the woman who was raped wrote a book about it and came forward. Did you guys ever talk to her?
No.
No.
And that was the thing too. Like, you know, at first we didn't want to push that because of what she'd been through, and we were sympathetic to it, and she went through a lot. But as years went on, we was like, hold on, like this is a travesty of what happened to her.
Yeah.
But she never wanted to reach out to us, and she never wanted to hear our side of the story. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, she also became friends with several of the detectives and the prosecutors. And so these people are sitting here telling you for 13 years that we guilty.
Yep.
Now Reyes comes forward, they still saying we guilty. The DNA matches, he tells you he did it, they still saying we guilty. And, you know, we knew that was difficult, but it got to a point that we was like, but do you ever want to talk to us?
Yeah.
You know, our door has always been open for her to come forward or for us to meet her, but she has never made an effort. So it's like, we're not going to make one either.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the door's open though. So it's not like, we're, you know, we've always said, you know what, if she does, I feel like that will be the full circle of us really healing from this whole case. You know?
And to be fair, it's not like she got on the stand and said, Raymond and Yusef raped me. And
right.
You guys should lock him up. She just said, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So it's not like she didn't contribute to your situation, to be fair.
Yeah.
Correct.
To be fair,
Okay. So you guys end up suing New York.
Yes.
Yes.
Originally for $250 million?
Yes.
That's correct.
What did you guys ultimately get?
41.
Okay.
41.
That
was a total.
That was
a total.
Split.
Yeah.
41 million total spread across all 5 people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So about 8
and
million
attorneys.
each.
Well, no, it was sprinkled.
5 and attorneys. Don't forget the attorneys.
Yeah. It was sprinkled based on the amount of time that we did.
Yeah.
So like Corey got more money than all of us, but you know, 4 out of 5 got about the same amount, and we all had to split that. But we also had to split it with the attorneys and all of that other stuff. They didn't pay for the attorney fees or any of that. You know, which something that they should have done. They didn't give our families any money either.
Yeah.
So even though they went through hell, even though they had to lose their jobs because of the situation that happened, some of them had to leave New York City because of the situation that happened. Mm-hmm. No compensation was given as a result of that to them.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, a couple $1,000,000 each does not match up to what you guys went through.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, if you were to do it over, I'm sure if someone told you ahead of time, hey, listen, you guys have to go through this, but you'll get a couple $1,000,000 at the end.
Well, see, that's always an unknown as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we've been asked that question in public before. Yeah. And I've always said, and I know Raymond said it too, you know, like, at the end of the day, if somebody told us that the possibility, forget the possibility. If somebody said, look, if you go into the park, you're going to go to jail for years, would you do it? Now, I look at who I am today. I happen to be a motivational speaker. We both go into high schools, colleges, universities, and we speak to young people. I mean, life was hell, But life has took such a tremendous turn towards a positive thing. I mean, Raymond is wearing a shirt that this is his company, Park and Madison, you know? So, I mean, you know, stuff like that. Like, would we be the people that we are today had we not gone through the struggle? Had we not known the intricate details of what it's like to be in the belly of the beast? Maybe, you know? But now we come at life from a completely different angle, full circle, in knowing something that a lot of people don't know. And a lot of people who know about it, they don't want to talk about it because it's one of the most unfortunate realities to talk about, having gone to prison, even if you didn't do the crime, you know, but how did we survive? What did we do? How did we get our lives back?
Yeah.
How are we doing such positive things today?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, after all this happened and you were exonerated and the real rapist admitted to what happened and so forth, there were people that still thought you still did it.
Oh,
absolutely.
I guess there's theories that even though, you know, the other guy raped her, you guys went in afterwards and raped her as well.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And in fact, I guess Trump felt like that you guys still did it.
Well, see, you know, you gotta look at the facts. And I always say it like this. A person like Donald Trump has the financial wherewithal, especially now. Before he had it, but as the president of the United States, you definitely got it, right? You can know anything and everything, truth or not, at any point in time. So Donald Trump, for him to just kind of stay on the side of wrong, stay on the side of saying, well, you know what, the police officers had so much evidence against them, you know, it's almost as if they're saying, or he's saying, that the police department is infallible. People make mistakes.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. You know? I mean, you got situations where victims of horrific crimes have falsely identified people, and they've come afterwards to be that person's greatest advocate to talk about the fact that witness identification is such a tricky kind of situation. Because when we're going through something like that, we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, but things ain't gonna match up that easily. Yeah. But I always talk about the fact that when you look at what I had on that night, that stuff that I had, that article of clothing that I had on that night, to this day has all kinds of holes in it because they went over it with a fine-tooth comb trying to find even a speck of blood to match us to the scene of the crime. Yeah. And so for there not to be even a speck of blood, the victim loses 3/4 of her blood. There's other folks that get assaulted that night. People go to prison for assaulting those other individuals. These individuals who went to prison were picked out of lineups. The assailant knew exactly who assaulted them. Those folks went to jail. None of those folks became known as the Central Park Five. Right. So for that narrative to still be out there, well, these guys got to be guilty of something. You're right. We're guilty of the color of our skin. I mean, that's it.
Now, at any point, did you guys go out of your way to confront the detectives, the judge, the DA, any of the people involved in putting you guys in prison?
Well, we didn't confront them directly. What we did was that we fought back through talking, through telling our story, through social media was a big help for us. I mean, we just uncovered the facts. We uncovered the truth. You know, we went through this civil suit. It took about 11 years to get done. And in that 11 years, we had close to 100 depositions. Now, a lot of that stuff is marked confidential. It will be released at some time in the future, and people will actually get to see. Those who say that we still guilty, those are the ones that's invested from 1989, and they can't let it go. Yeah. The Donald Trumps, the Linda Fairsteins, the letterers. But when you get a hold of these depositions and you start to see the line of questioning that they have been put under, and then you start to see their whole case just fall apart. Like, and we get a chance to sit in those depositions. Yeah. You know, even Commissioner at the time, Ray Kelly, right, who wasn't the commissioner in 1989, but he's commissioner now. And in his depositions, we uncovered so many facts. We uncovered emails between him and Robin Morgenthau where he's actually trying to take the case. And Robert Morgenthau is telling him, no, y'all dirty. I don't trust y'all.
Yeah.
And so this was the thing, like, you know, whenever a person gets exonerated and they file a lawsuit, it goes through the court of claims. We were the first case that filed through the federal courts. And the reason why we filed through federal courts is because you get more access to more documents, right? In the court of claims, they can, you know, most likely tell you what they can give you, what they can't give you. When you go through the feds says you got to give up everything. Yeah. And we uncovered so much dirt. I mean, we caught police officers who were corrupted. The officer in my case, who's named Detective Arroyo, he got caught in a sting in Washington Heights, where they found this dead guy, and in the trunk of the car is $30,000, and they split it. The rookie cop turns him in, right? Another cop who we found, who was in Florida, who he came and testified, he was retired, decorated officer, 20 years on the force. Found out that he had a conspiracy case in Florida because he was hired muscle for the mob, right? Then we get the last one, who's Mike Sheehan, who went on to be in movies. He went on to be a reporter for different news stations. This guy was under investigation by the feds because he would go clock into work and he would go hang out at his sister's bar, right? He had numerous DWIs on his jacket. So they was under investigation for stealing company time. Man. And his thing was that one day he's driving drunk, under the influence, and he hits a police horse. Now, none of these guys get reprimanded, right? Because they all came off this big case. Yeah. So they get forced to retire and go live in Florida. And all this stuff gets uncovered in these depositions. And that's the beauty of filing on a federal level. And we was the first case that did that.
Yeah.
Right, the blue wall of silence.
Oh, yeah.
Blue wall of silence.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a hell of a story, man.
Yeah.
You know, Raymond, Yusef, I'm really, really sorry that you guys had to go through this. And I think that this really details the holes in the legal system. Yeah. And what could happen when, you know, you think you're doing the right thing and you're just going along with what the cops are telling you and so forth. You know, when you look at what's happening in America today, do you think it's much different than what you guys went through?
You know, I think the only thing that's different is the fact that we have video cameras showing the atrocities that go on. Yeah. You know, we all knew cases where people got beat up by the cops, never made it to the precinct. People got shot by cops, you know, aren't here to tell the story of that. You know, but then when you see it on camera, you know, I mean, folks whose last words are, I can't breathe. Mm-hmm. You know, folks who, you know, you tell them, can I see a license and registration? And you go back to your vehicle to give them the license and registration and you get shot down in the process. You know, even this most recent case where, you know, a man was walking back to his vehicle and the woman said she feared for her life, you know, and so she shot him to death. You know, you know, it's not white folks that are getting shot down, but it's black and brown folks that are getting shot down. You know, the overwhelming majority of people that are in prison are black and brown. You know, and when we look at what brilliant filmmakers like Ava DuVernay has given us, you know, in this film called The 13th, you know, where she talks about the 13th Amendment and how, you know, in this amendment you clearly see that they can turn you back into a slave for the punishment of a crime. And I always say that these words, the words that are being used are keywords, and I think it's keywords to people of color, because the only people who read that and that word vibrates on a different level are people whose ancestors have been enslaved. So they're telling you right there in the documents of the founding documents of this country that they can turn you back into a state which they quote unquote abolished, but it's still right there, you know. And then we look at what's going on today. Here we privatizing prisons. We're trying to make sure that some of these prisons are on the stock market. Some of the prisons are using, some of the businesses are using prison labor to put products in stores, you know. And they're paying the prisoners pennies on the dollar. I mean, my greatest pay when I was in prison was 50 cents an hour. Mm-hmm. And I was in the top industry. I was in the garment industry. Yeah. You know, so I mean, stuff like that, when you think about the whole dynamics that go on, you know, I always say that this isn't by chance. This is something that's been by design. Unfortunately, the big difference that happened is that now the blatantness of it all has been institutionalized. So people can, now it's like you got to prove it. You know, if somebody peeing on you and they're telling you it's raining, you know, you're like, nah, this is, come on. Now I got to pull out my own camera and show your own self that you done pulled it out and tried to pee on me. You know, I mean, it's crazy. But it's those types of things that even in a court of law aren't even being upheld. We got clear and like the evidence is right there. And people are still getting a slap on the wrist. We're still the ones that are being shot down. Mm-hmm. Had they done to us, I said before, had they done to us what they did to Emmett Till, and we just found out recently that the whole story of Emmett Till was a story that we found out was completely fabricated.
Right. The woman came forward and said that it never even happened. There was no whistling or whatever.
Yeah. But even that is an atrocity. But if you look back at the video footage from the trial in the Emmett Till case, I remember seeing this with a friend, and I said, wow, this is crazy, because they were interviewing some of the jurors, and they said, well, tell us about the process that you went through and what happened in this whole case. And the juror said, well, we knew we were going to vote innocent to the guys who killed Emmett Till, but we didn't want to come back too quick with a verdict of not guilty, so we had to take a soda pop break just to make sure that we didn't come back too quick with a verdict of not guilty. Mm. Now that's unfortunate. That's a travesty all around.
In the words of David Dinkins, that's a damn shame.
That's a damn shame, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Raymond and Yusef, I really appreciate you sharing your story. I think this is something that not enough of our viewers really know about. Because like I said, I think that the initial trial had a huge spotlight on it, and the exoneration did not. Yeah. So hopefully this is another step in kind of showing the underbelly of what happened in New York, and hopefully this will happen less and less in the future.
Yes, definitely. Indeed. That's one of the things that we fight for all the time, you know, trying to make sure that there's never again going to be another Central Park 5. Yeah. And even though we're out there talking about it, one of the things that we do, like I said before, in terms of going into the schools and going into universities, is making sure that this next generation of people who are going to be the lawgivers and law providers, even if you're going to be an officer of the law, you know, you being a sworn citizen to protect and serve is a tremendous job and opportunity, because if you do that, you will be the best officer, hands down. But too few of them are showing their heads. A lot of the bad apples are in the bunch, spoiling the whole thing.
I agree. Raymond and Yusef, man, best of luck to both of you.
Hey, well, thank you for doing this as well, man. We appreciate you.